Hello, everyone, and welcome to another installment of TEDXcellence, the show in which I watch things to learn things and usually have my brain fried. And I come to you live from my Corona bunker on the moon with Dog Cat Fox, A Pepperjack, and all of you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Saturday. Scintillating Saturday, or something like that. I hope you are all well. And who are all of you that I hope are well? Well, you are Jaeger Pony, hello. Point Curation, hello. Maniac Man 2030, hello. Delta the Traveler, hello. Asian Hippie, hello. Who's next? Kiever Dam, hello. Mike R, hello. Dark Alile, hello. That One Servant of Satania, hello. Raziel, hello. Truckin' with a Tablet, hello. Tattoo Steven, hello. Corey Suzuki, hello. Emperor WR Costin, hello. Officer Buck Tud Russell, hello. Fall Epic Fail. Fail Epic Fail? Fail Epic Fail. Hello. Kiaxa, hello. Pink Hollow the Driving Ape Man, hello. And thank you for the Dog Cat Fox. Non-Vitae Rex, hello. Jeanette D. Hellis? Jeanette De Hellis. Hello. Crimson Tiger. Hello. Oh, so many hellos. No one, nowhere. Wello. Lurking Gopher. Looking at me. Chicago Mike. Hello. The Broken Baller. Hello. Catherine H. Hello. Mr. Joestar. Hello. The Luke Skywalker 2. Hello. Eugene Byrne. Ohio. All right, everybody. So today's presentation comes to you by way of a poll I put up on Twitter asking you all what subject matter you would be most interested in. The winner was education. And so I found a video that is going to tell me about, well, education and classrooms and all types of stuff. Let's see. Thrashy, hello. 69 otters, hello. That's a lot of otters. That's a lot of fish. Check your logic, hello. All right, so what is the official title of this? The official title of the presentation from TEDx is Decolonizing Post-Secondary Classrooms for Rockstar Learners. Try to say that 3 times fast. Decolonizing Post-Secondary Classrooms for Rockstar Learners. I have absolutely no idea what that means, but I am dying to find out. And so, as I ready my Pepperjack, and I ready my bingo card. By the way, guys, the bingo card has been revised slightly. The link to the new bingo card is in the description, so you don't already have yours up. Have yours ready. We'll be going along. I will read off the squares for reference right now. We have plays victim. I included feminism, white supremacy, childhood or family anecdote, microaggressions, systemic or institutionalized. I might revise it to add that word as well. Takes credit for something done by others in their demographic, attempt to coin a new buzzword or buzz phrase, equity, rape culture, toxic, anecdote that probably never happened, free space, leaves out vital context, speakers should not be in current occupation or position, marginalization or marginalized, privileged, make something about race, sex, etc. for no reason, wage gap, patriarchy. I added something new, benevolent condescension. Benevolent condescension, you know, when you're thinking, oh, won't somebody please think of the children? Now let me belittle a whole demographic because they're obviously victims, that kind of thing. Benevolent condescension. Word salad, a list. I took out the baffles me in the first 30 seconds because it's so very specific. It's got a timestamp and all that kind of thing that we almost never hit it. So I put in a list because we see a lot of lists in TEDx, not always, but often. Cultural appropriation and gratuitous pausing for effect. So keep your eyes and ears open for those guys. I'll be going along as we go. At the end of the show, I will review the bingo card and take in your input for any corrections or suggestions elsewise. All that being said, per usual, I'm going to start a few seconds of this for a sound test. You guys tell me if you can hear it. I will say that the volume at the very beginning is very high for some reason. I tried to turn it down a bit, and it starts very suddenly. I cut out all the stuff in the beginning because it's all music and I don't know if it's copyrighted or not. So the talk starts very suddenly with a loud little burst. So get your ears ready. Just as a warning, it won't last for more than a second or two, but might be a little jarring. All that, here we go.
Have you gone to post-secondary school and feel that the education you received didn't prepare you for real life? Show of hands, please.
Okay. Did you guys all hear that, first and foremost? Sounds good. Says Asian hippie, works for me. Says, okay. Did I feel that my post-secondary education did not prepare me for real life? So post-secondary education to me, if I'm understanding correctly, is like community college or college, right? Because secondary education is, you know, high school, junior high, high school, that territory, right? Am I wrong on that? I think I'm pretty much right on that. So post-secondary, four-year college. I don't know why she's not saying higher education or college or something like that, but okay. Post-secondary. Angela Arriaga, hello. Data Wasteland, hello. And Aloysius Fudpucker, hello. All right, so yeah, did it prepare me for the real world? Well, it depends on what you're going for. I mean, if you go into college or even high school or whatever, and you pay attention in class, there's a lot of things you can apply to your real life. If you're going into college and you have some idea of what kind of career or what kind of job, you know, field you want to go into, college can prepare you for that. But for the real world, like the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, I don't know that any education can, quote unquote, prepare you for the real world. You just sort of have to love it or lump it, you know, take it in and deal with it.
How many of you know someone who is in post-secondary education right now who feel the education they're receiving is not relevant to real life? Sure.
Okay, and again, just because I want to make sure I'm on my terms here, post-secondary education, community college, high school, maybe trade school or something. Did it prepare me for real life? Again, no, I suppose, because you can't prepare for what's not structured as much as school is. Do I know anybody who's currently doing that? I honestly don't think I do currently know anyone personally who's still going to school. I might have to stretch my brain a little bit for that, but so far as I know. So no, what does that got to do with anything?
Hands?
Yeah.
Last question.
Okay, really? This is gonna be a really short TEDx talk.
And how many of you sat in a similar way as you are now, facing the front of the room and looking at someone else's back as if you're going to be entertained?
Well, it all depends on the quality of that back. Yeah, if you're talking to anybody who's gone through any kind of westernized education, of course, at some point you've been sitting in an audience or a classroom, lined up in desks and looking at someone who's at the front of the classroom, and occasionally they will have their back to you. So that was not exactly a Las Vegas odds betting question there. Thank you, Officer Buck. You know, I was going to go for a degree in feminism and white privilege, but then I came to my senses and went with cooking and horticulture. I'm glad. I'm glad you did. I mean, the world needs more chefs. I don't know where to go with that, but I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
What you and I experienced, including the way in which administrators organize and structure the classroom, is reflective of colonialism.
Oh, is it now? Do tell. Now, sitting in a classroom and being taught things is colonialism. And here's the thing. All right. When I hear these words, I just want to know what they mean by them. The speaker. What do they mean by them when they say them? Right? Colonialism, mindfulness, patriarch, on and on and on. Just whatever. Because these days, you cannot take, unfortunately, your first impression of a word's actual definition and necessarily rely on it to be what they're talking about. So I really hope, fingers crossed, that she defines her terms. It rarely happens in a TEDx, but I'm really hoping that she does, so I know what it is I'm listening to.
I didn't like it much, so I am on a quest to transform post-secondary education classroom.
You're on a quest. Okay. So this is a virtuous crusade to transform post-secondary education classrooms. Why keep saying post-secondary? Why not just say college classrooms? You know, or university classrooms or something. Am I off? I don't know. Thank you again, Officer Buck. So only colonialists teach their young? I guess. Or you know, it's a secret conspiracy of colonialism in classrooms. But okay, well, why? Here's a question: why just post-secondary education classrooms? Why not all classrooms? I mean, I was sitting at a desk, lined up, paying attention to the teacher at the front of the classroom from first grade onward. So why should it only apply to post-secondary education? I don't know.
I'm going to be talking with you about why it is important to decolonize and transform those colonial spaces and how we can do that together.
Please define your terms. I understand we're still in the introduction phase, but if you do not define what you mean by colonialism as applies to a classroom, we're going to have a very bad time.
And now you're sitting wondering, what does that have to do with you, right?
Right. Sure. Yeah. What does that have to do with me? I mean, I'm a long time out of college now. Sure. Explain to me why it's relevant to me.
Come, I'll show you.
All right.
But first,
yes.
What is colonized education?
Oh my gosh. And I'm not being facetious. Is she actually going to? Oh, okay. Good. Good. I hate proceeding feeling like I'm just, you know, flailing about in the darkness or something. I would love to get definitions to these things so I know what it is we're discussing. That's going to be great. Thank you, Officer Buck, again. She got an F for post-secondary. That's why, Scribe. Oh, I don't know who she is or what she does. I know her name just from the title card, but she hasn't told us what she does. I mean, I'm assuming she's an educator and or a teacher. She talked about her experiences, but I don't know if that's experiences as a student or experiences as a professional. But either way, okay, what is colonized education? I am ready to be educated. Tell me.
In a colonized educational space, the classroom is structured to locate the professor at the front of the room where all eyes are on them.
Okay. Thank you, Bacall, the Driving Ape Man. This TEDx is from Canada. Post-secondary is a catch-all. Oh, okay, so it's sort of like Canadian lingo. Is it a catch-all for, like, anything after high school, effectively? Because when I think of secondary education in the United States, I think junior high / high school, that kind of thing. Like I say, I'm just trying to make sure I understand, because this is all about trying to understand things. But okay, so a colonized education is sitting in an audience and paying attention to the educator, the teacher, the professor. Okay.
And they're the focus of attention, presumably because they're the experts.
And that's very similar to the TEDx's I pay attention to. I sit in my chair, very regimented, looking forward at the speaker, who is purportedly an expert on the subject. So my computer room is a colonized space then. Uh-oh.
And an interesting note, statistics tell us that those experts, they tend to present as heterosexual, white men and women for the most part.
For the most part. Okay, well, let's see. Let's go to the bingo card real quick. First, I'm going to circle free space. Let's see. Making something about race, sex, etc. for no reason. Well, I'll wait and see if she gives us a reason, because what does that have to do with anything? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Let's see. I haven't got a list yet. No patriarchy, equity, system. Okay. Not anything concrete yet elsewise on the list. We'll let it develop a little bit. We're only 2 minutes in.
And they tend to have course content that is narrowly focused on their own lived experience, which is based on a Eurocentric perspective.
Okay, so the problem is white teachers. And they have a narrow focus on, I don't know, the subject of the class. Okay, all right. So colonial means white European heterosexual teacher. Okay.
Students, on the other hand, are presumed to have little or no agency to contribute to their education, the education of other students, and of the professors.
That's what makes them students. They are there to learn. Maybe they can help in other people's education as tutors or as, brainstorming. It depends on the circumstances, depends on the class, but there's the student and there is the teacher. There is the person who knows the stuff and there's the person who's there to learn the stuff. There is a power dynamic there that is kind of unavoidable. Can there be some symbiosis? Certainly. But as a general rule, a student is ignorant of the subject and the teacher is knowledgeable of the subject. So, thank you, Bacall, the Driving Ape Man. Meanwhile, 30+% of Canadian students are exchange students. Oh, well, I mean, they're probably exchanging from European countries. So,
Teachers. They're located in the classroom as voyeurs, audience members, spectators, and bystanders.
What? Wait. Students are located in the classroom as voyeurs, audience members, spectators, and bystanders. No. They are there to learn. They are there to actively engage in the material in some way, shape, or form. Taking notes, doing homework, taking a quiz, paying attention, answering questions, on and on and on. A good teacher has some sort of interaction with the students, whether it be fully just coldly academic and quizzes and tests and questions, or live tutoring. Depends on the classroom. I don't know, but they're not static. They're not just there with a pane of glass behind them and the teacher and there's no interaction. Unless it's like the worst possible classroom you can imagine, like just watching a video on YouTube and making that the whole of your education, I suppose. But have you ever been in a classroom? I mean, there are bad teachers out there. Don't get me wrong. There are bad teachers who don't engage with their students, who don't even take a step here, there, or otherwise to connect with their students. And I understand different teachers, different schools, different circumstances. There's only so many hours in the day and so on. But students, and of course, there's also bad students. Students who don't engage, students who don't pay attention, students who just kind of sit around and do nothing. It really is a matter of self-initiation when it comes to learning things and teaching things. But maybe that's just me. I don't know. Chicago Mike, thank you. Bystanders, yes, I want a class for no reason. Yeah, or I went to a class for no reason. It's just bystanders. It just kind of came by. It just swooped by, and I was just there. I paid for this, or my parents paid for this, or I spent my my college loan on this. And it just happened. I didn't make any active choices. I didn't have any agency in choosing what classes I attended or anything or signed up for. What are you talking about?
And bystanders.
Yeah.
They're taught to memorize and regurgitate everything that they're told in the classroom. So you can...
Well, okay. They're there to learn something, right? Let me back up a little bit just because I cut her off. Yes, there can be some very shallow educational models that deal with just listen and repeat back to me. It's true. And a lot of learning is that, unfortunately, because when you're dealing with facts, when you're dealing with science or math or history, admittedly, history is, sometimes a little malleable depending on which source you're looking at. But otherwise, if you don't know something, if I come into a situation with no knowledge on a subject and the teacher needs to verify that I've understood what I've been told, yeah, there's going to be some regurgitation. There's going to be some repetition. There's going to be some, showing that I have cognated the information that has been presented to me. That's how they grade you. Are you paying attention? Are you absorbing this information and able to relay it back or demonstrate its utility in some way? Listening and repeating back is not inherently a bad thing. Otherwise, how do we learn languages, might I ask?
Everything that they're told in the classroom.
Uh-huh.
So you can see how the education is a one-way street from the professor to the student, because after all, students are merely empty vessels, gracing the hallowed halls of academia.
What? As you can see. As I can see what? No. As I can see. No, you need to present evidence. Maybe you missed that part somewhere in the long stream of education, but if you're going to put forward a theory or a proposition, you need to back it up with evidence. And everything that I have said between the last pause until now is, as far as I'm concerned, not bad counter evidence, anecdotal as it may be, towards your claim. As you can see, I was never a bystander in my classrooms. Okay? After high school, in high school, I chose which classes I wanted to sign up for, right? In college, I chose what classes I wanted to sign up for. If I expected to get a good grade in a class, I had to pay attention. I had to do my homework. I had to, think outside the box a little bit when it came down to tests, because oftentimes the tests don't just ask you directly questions that were of information that was presented to you. Sometimes they ask you to, think extemporaneously about it. Like in math or in theory or something, you have to actually think, and then they judge your answer. It's not a bystander audience thing. There is a participatory aspect to it. Eventually, there's tests, there's papers, there's quizzes, there's questions. So no, as I can see, no, I don't see. You haven't shown me anything except a picture and told me that it's colonialist, which doesn't make any sense unless you're just being a racist, which it sounds like you are. I'll back up a couple seconds.
All students are merely empty vessels, gracing the hallowed halls of academia, waiting to be filled with knowledge.
I love the hand movements. It makes it very artistic.
So why do we need to transform these colonial spaces? Well,
you haven't even told us why it's a problem yet. Unless I missed something. Except for the fact that she says, classrooms are set up to look at the teacher. Uh-huh. Oftentimes, teachers are heterosexual, white people who have a Eurocentric view of things. And she shows pictures from I don't even know, 1822 or something. And now we have to transform because desks in rows and a teacher at the front of the classroom is bad and white people are bad. Okay, well, I guess that's the problem. I mean, if you're going to offer the solution of transforming, because obviously these things need to be changed, then the only problem there is seating assignments and the color of the teacher.
They simply fail to recognize that today's post-secondary school students come from a rich array of backgrounds with unique ideas, perspectives, goals, and aspirations.
What does any of that have to do with the subjects being taught? What does it have to do with anything? I mean, if you have a, let's say, I'll just pull one out of the hat. Okay, how about a American literature teacher? I have no experience with that kind of subject matter, but let's just say you have an American literature teacher, and you have a student who is a white Canadian, and you have another student who is an exchange student from Japan. All right, and they both come to this classroom. They both sign up for this class, American literature. Okay, and they sit down in this classroom. You have someone who's from a foreign country compared to where the school is in Canada. I'll just use Canada as the example here. You have a native Canadian and you have a foreign exchange student. They both come to this classroom to learn about American literature. What are they both going to be taught about? American literature. Does it matter what their personal experiences are? They came there to learn about American literature, presumably because it's a subject that they either need for a prerequisite for something or they're honestly interested in the subject. So they have a unified motive there. They're there to learn about American literature. Yeah, different reasons, but the same end. Who cares if one's Japanese and the other one's Canadian? What does that matter? What does that do to anything? How does that change anything? Why should I rearrange the classroom or give somebody some special attention or something because they're different? Isn't education supposed to be a unifying force, understanding the world, having more information about things, you know, learning how to think about things, not necessarily what to think about things, especially in a literature class? What are you talking about?
Remember at the beginning of my talk,
Remember at the beginning of your talk, you're 3 minutes in. Sure, I remember the beginning of your talk.
I asked you what your experience was in post-secondary classrooms, and specifically about the shape of the classroom and the education you received. And you agree that some things didn't work for you and for some people that you know.
Now, but you didn't ask. Oh my God. Some things didn't work. You asked, did it prepare you for the real world? One of the most, amorphous, broadly based questions you could possibly come up with. And so now the audience agrees with your position, because does anything in education, quote unquote, prepare you for the real world? Wow, I guess the entire audience is on your side now, because in general, it's like, no, I guess education didn't prepare me for the real world. Like, what are you talking about? I'm going to say that a lot during this, aren't I? Thank you, Andrew Joyner, for the drooling crazy face. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel right now. We're not even 4 minutes into this, and already she's revising her own history of this talk and giving herself credit for stuff that I'm getting ready to circle leaves out vital context. Because, actually, I'm going to do it now. I'll rescind it if something changes, but as far as colonial classrooms and everything else, she hasn't told us what the problem is. She hasn't told us what the problem is that needs to be solved with the transformation she's talking about. And I don't even know what the transformation is yet. Regardless. She hasn't brought up a childhood anecdote, plays the victim. I mean, not directly, not yet. Hasn't given us any anecdotes. Word salad. She's come close so far. I'm getting ready to circle that one. Okay.
And that is why we need to transform those spaces to make them relevant for students to learn about complex ideas and subjects.
So classrooms arranged in rows of seats facing towards the teacher, okay, and classrooms that have heterosexual, white, Eurocentric, quote-unquote, teachers cannot explain complex ideas or subjects to students. I just want to make sure I understand what you're saying the problem is. Complex ideas cannot be presented effectively, cannot be made relevant due to desk orientation and skin color. Is that what I am meant to understand? Because that is what it sounds like you're saying.
But we should not be fooled in thinking that this education is meant for people like you or I or children or grandchildren. No, they were not.
What? I'm really getting close to word salad here.
They were made by and for a small group of elites who construct this space for themselves.
Uh-huh.
And that is why post-secondary classrooms actually does not work for students at the moment.
No, you have to provide evidence. You can't just say it and say that it is so. It's an interesting claim. You're going to have to back it up. And you're not. So saying that that's the problem and it has to be solved, not even some statistics. I mean, at least show us some statistics. At least show us that you have something other than your say-so on this subject.
So what can we do about some of those spaces?
I don't know. What can we do about some of those spaces? Well, if you don't like a grid pattern of desk placement, I suppose you can put them into a circle and have the teacher in the middle of the room. I suppose you can, I don't know, discriminate hiring practices by race and make sure that the teachers aren't white, because who cares about their personal merits, their lived experiences, their expertise or otherwise? I mean, obviously, if they're white, they shouldn't be teaching classrooms because reasons. I don't know. Given the problems that you have cited, I can only imagine a very, very small number of solutions.
Given that students have different learning styles and needs, this colonial space does not work for a majority of them.
Why? Why does the space not work? Why is it impossible for the teacher to engage students and maybe, I don't know, adjust their personal interaction with students to try to account for the varying learning styles? Why can't teachers try to mentor, tutor, counsel students individually on some level? I mean, if we're talking about post-secondary, if we're talking about college, and again, I'm guessing that's what it means. Yeah, we're talking about a large group of students, hour by hour, day by day. And if a student in post-secondary education doesn't understand something, well, you know what? It would be up to that student to either do more research, or make an appointment with the professor to try to get some more information, or something. Because when I think, again, post-secondary education, I'm thinking of grown adults, 18-year-olds and up. And at that point in life, if you need to know more about a subject or something, you're going to have to use your own agency and your own personal responsibility to expand your knowledge base. What does the orientation of desks and the color of the teacher have to do with that? Thank you, the Broken Baller. Peak regressive talking points achieved by her. We're getting there. It might take me a little bit, but there's a whole bunch of squares on that bingo card that I'm looking at right now.
And when it doesn't work, they're often pathologized and not given the foundation for success. This kind of post-secondary education squeezes students into corners and boxes.
Okay, word salad. Word salad is a go. There we are. And honestly, benevolent condescension is another one, because students apparently have no ability to fend for themselves or something. They're just complete and total victims. Come on.
And limits their scope of learning.
How? Do you have an example? Do you have a study? Do you have at least even an anecdote to tell us about what you're talking about? You're just saying things. You're providing no evidence. You haven't even, as far as I'm concerned, completely articulated a problem that needs to be solved. And we're still not hearing whatever the solutions are to the problem. So what would you do about desk arrangement and the color of the teacher's skin? Because those are the attributes of a colonialized classroom, according to you.
This kind of education is akin to giving students coffee beans and asking them or expecting them to make coffee without any water.
What? What are you talking? Oh my God. Oh, if I hadn't already circled word salad, that would have been it. I'm looking at the card again. Plays victim, feminism, white supremacy, child. I'm going to have to wait. I'm going to wait until the end. The make something about race, sex, etc. for no reason. That is basically circled, but I want to wait and see if she gives any more information on why inherently the skin color of the teacher is a bad thing. Because I haven't heard that yet, but that's sitting there.
And as coffee drinkers know, that is a recipe for disaster.
What are you even talking about? I'm sorry. I'm going to keep saying that because I am just absolutely bewildered.
So what can we do about today's post-secondary education classrooms?
Well, you have rhetorically asked that question about 3 or 4 times now and not provided any answers. So, again, what would you do about desk arrangement in classrooms, and what would you do about the skin color of the instructors? Because those are the only things you've brought up that represent a colonialized classroom.
The same ones that are not relevant for the average post-secondary student. The same one that does not prepare the average student to take on 21st century issues such as global warming, child exploitation.
What? Swear to God, this thing's going to give me an aneurysm. I'm backing up a little bit because I cut her off. Global warming. Is this a list? This might be a list. It's not said as a list. I don't know.
Issues such as global warming.
Global warming. Okay, so classrooms aren't addressing global warming, says you, even though every science and or weather class I ever had in school at some point or another talked about the greenhouse effect. There's a phrase you don't hear very often. I heard that all the time when I was a kid. The greenhouse effect. You know, you hear climate change or global warming a lot these days, but it was the greenhouse effect that I heard most when I was a kid. Thank you, Bacall, the Driving Ape Man. Colonialism is a concentrated caffeine overdose. I guess. I suppose.
Child exploitation.
Child exploitation. Yeah, you know, a lot of the classes I had in school about reading, writing, and arithmetic dealt with child exploitation?
Racism.
Racism, you say? Tell me again about the inherent evils of people who are white teaching classrooms.
Gender equity.
Gender equity. Really? Oh, okay. Gender equity. Is that feminism? I'm going to say that's feminism. And also the word equity. So equity, feminism. Taking both of those.
And a host of other social ills.
A host of other social ills, which you won't bother to actually articulate or describe, but just sort of throw out there. Okay. You know, it's almost as if there should be more than one square on the board for leaves out vital context, but we only have the one, guys.
Wouldn't it be great?
Wouldn't it be nice if we were older? Sorry.
To see this kind of education space transformed and decolonized.
Sure, it would be great. Now, please tell me, how do you do that?
Transform.
Whoa.
Rather than change.
Wait,
that
wait,
is
wait,
because
wait.
I'm being
sorry, that jumped real quick. Did I miss something? Was that a glitch in the video, or was that me?
And decolonized. Transform.
No, that's a cut in the video. That's a cut in the original video, guys. Just to make sure. I don't want anybody thinking I took anything out. There's nothing changed of the original video here. So whatever that cut was, whatever was left out, was from the original piece. So I'm going to back up one more time just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Because that startled me.
To see this kind of education space transformed and decolonized. Transform rather than change. That is because I'm being intentional.
What? No! No! Transform and change are synonymous. Synonymous. Transform and change are two notions of the same thing. What are you being intentional? What the hell are you talking about? We're literally, well, almost literally halfway through your presentation. And now you're telling us that transform and change are two different terms because you're being intentional. What does that even mean?
And I'll give you an example of why intentionality is really important.
Oh, please, an example would be great, because so far you've been talking in absolute, just ephemeral notions. Please, an example.
Here. We can take ice, we can take water.
What?
And turn it into ice.
Yeah.
We can take that ice.
Yeah.
And turn it back into water.
Yeah.
Would you agree that's an example of change?
It's an example of change. It's also an example of transformation. Are we back to coffee beans again? Are you going to take this melted water and put it in the coffee? Thank you, Chicago Mike. Did she start off as a member of the Supremes? Oh, this is hurting real bad, guys. This is hurting real bad. And not just for the cognitive dissonance of it, but presumably, and again, I don't know what this lady's career is or anything else, but presumably this lady is an educator and or she is someone who speaks to and guides and counsels educators. And we're halfway through her presentation. And there's nothing here.
So I'm focused in on transformation because when the...
No, that was not an example of anything. Come on. Okay, now I feel insulted, honestly. That was not an example of anything. That was a very poorly framed metaphor for nothing. Nothing. Do you know the difference between an example and a metaphor? I don't think you do. But then you think that transform and change are inherently different concepts. Oh, God.
Ice and turn it back into water. Would you agree that's an example of change?
Yeah.
So I'm focused in on transformation because when the current post-secondary education classroom is transformed, it will never be what it used to be.
Really? Are you meaning to imply that when you transform something that you have inherently changed it?
And if this is sounding a little incredible or improbable, let's just slow things down a bit because...
Oh, yeah, please slow things down. This is going way too fast for me. Oh, I can't keep up with the speed at which your educational revelations are coming at me. Oh, please, put the brakes on.
Because when you slow things down, gives us an opportunity to peel back the layers and to see things a little differently.
Will you please explain what you are talking about? Your description of the problem is desk arrangement and the skin color of the educator. You say you want to transform classrooms to get out of a colonialized educational model, which again you have described as desk arrangement and the skin color of the educator. And yet in 7 minutes, nearly 8 now of your presentation, you have yet to describe your alternative solution to desk arrangement or the skin color of the educator.
One of those things that we can see is the great Paulo Freire, who taught us some basic things about how we can achieve this goal of educational transformation. And he said,
why are you quoting someone else? Do you not have your own ideas? Do you not have your own solution? Okay, what did this guy say about transforming the classroom to solve the problem as you've described?
Education should not be a spectator sport.
Oh, for fuck's...
And I would add that our post-secondary classrooms should not be structured like tennis stadiums.
What are you... Okay, so you don't want the desk arrangements in a coliseum fashion or a lecture hall fashion. Okay, so what do you want? You want randomly generated locations for the desks? Do you want a big circle? Do you want, I don't know, some desks nailed to the wall at 6 feet intervals or something so that people have to climb up and they're all sort of fly on the wall? What? Yeah. I would. Okay, gratuitous pausing for effect. I'm circling that one. I'm circling that one. Is she expecting the audience to fill in the blank for her? What?
You get the drift.
No, I don't get the drift because I can't even tell which way the water's flowing. Holy Jesus.
In a transformational classrooms, the professor would recognize their power and privilege.
Privilege. Circled. Thank you. Moving on.
And transform the space, providing the opportunity for students to contribute to their own learning and how their learning unfolds.
How? What if the teacher decides that the best way to learn the material is to have a grid pattern arrangement of desks with the teacher at the front and the teacher asking students questions about the material, handing out quizzes, and on and on? Are you saying teachers do not understand the power they possess in the classroom for the subject they are teaching? So now teachers are at fault because they don't understand their role or something? If you're going to leave it up to the individual decisions of the proverbial teachers, to which you, I guess, are calling victims in this process, then I suppose you have no answers. You have no suggestions.
And you're probably wondering, how the heck can this happen? You know what you experience in your classrooms. Actually, very easy and simple.
Easy and simple? I am all ears. What is easy and simple about the non-answers, non-problems you've described so far?
4 little things.
Oh, we have a list. Okay, circling a list. 4 little things. All right, a list. I love lists. Let's go.
That every teacher or professor in post-secondary education can do right now to begin this transformation process.
All right, okay. Specificity. We're finally going to get to it. How do you solve the problems of desk orientation and educator skin color? Especially if you're advising the teachers who are themselves predominantly white per your own estimation. How are they going to change that second one? Is that going to be one of your 4 items? I can't wait.
1, they can disrupt the classroom space by adjusting the structure and the organization of the class by sitting amongst the students.
Oh my God. So you want the students in some kind of, I don't know, semicircular pattern with the teacher at the front and the center of their attention or something?
2, they can share power with students by having students contribute to every single part of their education, including curriculum.
No. The teacher sets the curriculum. If the teacher is going to abdicate their position and their power to the students, why bother having a teacher? The students select their curriculum in a post-secondary environment by signing up for the classes they want. I mean, I don't know how secondary education works in Canada. Maybe I'm completely off base. But the responsibility for setting the curriculum is the students. Do they want to learn about this subject or not? Does the syllabus for the classroom agree with their personal desires or not? Ask for student participation at every step. Why? Why should the teacher ask the students how to conduct the classroom? Who is the student? Who is the teacher?
Three, they can challenge this notion of a single expert by relinquishing their power and demonstrating that they're not the only knowledge holder in the room.
Oh, you mean like asking questions like, does anyone know who is considered to be the father of the atomic bomb before they actually get into the subject? Something like that? To try to estimate what kind of knowledge level already exists in the classroom? Giving an introductory quiz or something to see where are all the students at when it comes to this subject, and on and on. Are you talking about that? Really? Again, the teacher is supposed to defer their expertise to the students. Let's say there's one brainiac in the room. You know, the apple polisher, the Poindexter, who knows a hell of a lot about, I don't know, the caste system in India. And you're in a classroom that's about world cultures. And you get to the section on India. And the kid in the classroom, raises their hand and really knows and stuff. And yeah. And they know at least as much or perhaps even more than the teacher. Does that apply to every other student? Even if I acknowledge that I'm not the only knowledge holder in the room, so what then? Do I relinquish my podium to that student and take a seat and sit amongst my students because obviously I'm not cut out for this?
The fourth thing that professors can do is be facilitators, guides, and coaches that moves around the room and help with knowledge mobilization.
What if you're in a lecture hall and the only place at which that has a microphone is at the front? I mean, I guess you can have one of those clip-on microphones. Yeah, I've never seen a teacher walk around the room and engage students. I've never seen a teacher who, by the very nature of their profession, isn't already a guide and a coach and facilitates education throughout the room, even if they're speaking from the front of it. Like I say, there are bad teachers out there. And there are bad students. But none of this is either revelatory or, depending, makes any sense. Thank you, Andrew Joyner. Love these intersectional communists. She hasn't even proclaimed any kind of particular ideology. She's just said that there's problems, given two concrete examples, I guess, of what defines a colonial classroom. But aside from maybe sitting with your students, which doesn't change the orientation of the desks necessarily, I guess it could, she hasn't actually answered the problem that she described with any of these 4 points.
When this happens, the professors or the teachers signal a respect and an acceptance for students' experience and the knowledge that they bring inside the classroom.
But what if the teachers are white? What if they're Eurocentric? What if they're straight? Sorry, heterosexual. What happens then? I mean, that's at least half of the problem, isn't it? Of a colonial classroom. White, straight, male, and female teachers, they can't help their Eurocentric viewpoint. They don't acknowledge the different backgrounds and experiences and perspectives of their students, obviously. So how do you solve that problem? I'm really wondering.
And they would also signal their commitment to student-centered learning.
Student-centered learning. I don't know if that's a new buzz phrase, but I'm dying to know what student-centered learning is, because otherwise, who are the teachers' recipients of knowledge? Why are the teachers even there if they're not there to teach students and to help them learn?
Signal their commitment to student-centered learning.
Yeah.
Students, on the other hand.
Uh-oh, somebody dropped something in the background. That sounded awfully like metal or glass or something. Huh.
Would be the center of their education.
Students would be the center of their education. Well, in a post-secondary environment, I'll tell you what, the students are the center of their own education. You're right, because it is up to them to pay attention, take notes, do the homework, and learn something. Because it's their responsibility as students.
They would be encouraged and feel empowered to direct and control their own learning.
They would feel, so they come at, Jesus Christ. I pick the class I'm going to attend. I am not empowered by the money that I'm paying the college to direct my own education. So I'm not picking my own classes. I'm not deciding how attentive I'm going to be. I'm not deciding how engaged I'm going to be. I'm not deciding how much homework I'm going to do. What? Are students just lifeless automatons? All responsibility for learning is on the shoulders of the teacher in a post-secondary environment? Really? It is a symbiotic relationship. There is a give and a take. And part of that, at least half of that, is the individual student taking the responsibility to learn. The quality of the teaching is up for grabs, certainly. You know, the talents, the methods, the style of the teacher is on the teacher's shoulders, certainly. But there's another aspect to this you seem to be just not acknowledging. You poo-pooed the idea that students were just empty vessels walking around college just waiting to be educated. And yet that's exactly how you're describing them in this. As just non-participants, as bystanders who are just supposed to, I don't know, have everything handed to them.
They would be teachers and learners. So the communication would be two ways.
Really? The communication between teacher and student would be two ways. A teacher could possibly learn something new about their own teaching style, about the subject matter, about how to profess this information to students over time. The teacher themselves is a human being growing and learning alongside the students that they teach. Oh, golly gee. I can't imagine such a thing.
In those roles, they would share their ideas to help everyone in the classroom learn, including those expert professors at the front.
Expert professors, and you put up air quotes. So you're inherently doubting the expertise of the teachers because why?
Look formally at the front. They would be located in groups to engage in activities where they get introduced to theory, develop their understanding, develop lifelong relationships, and learn to embrace collaborative learning.
You are talking absolute gibberish at this point. You're saying nothing. They'd be gathered in groups, like, say, a classroom. And the teacher is just supposed to magically make them care about the subject. What if someone's only taking the class as a prerequisite? You know, they're not really interested. They just need the checkbox on their record. And the person sitting next to them, they're totally into it. They are passionate about the subject. They took the class intentionally, not because it's a prerequisite, because they wanted to learn something. And they both decide, as students, how much to pay attention, how much to be engaged, whether or not any of this is going to be relevant to them 1, 2, 10 years down the line. Are both of those students not equally valuable insofar as the teacher's responsibility or something? I don't understand. I really, really don't understand.
This learning would be reciprocal amongst the students, the teachers, and the community.
What? The community? What is it? What are you talking about? The community. I am at a loss, guys. I am really at a loss now to where are we? What are we doing?
Where students would partner with community-based organizations.
What?
To help apply their theory to practice.
What?
And learn by expanding their knowledge through a community-engaged, student-centered, social justice-oriented perspective.
What the? Pardon me for just a moment, guys. What the hell? What? Is this real life? Did I just hear what I heard? What? So the teachers are responsible for sending the students out into the world as activists and advocates for, I guess, whatever subject is being taught. So if I'm taking a literature analysis class, and I have absolutely no experience with literature analysis classes, I'm supposed to go out into the world and just find somebody in the community and say, hey, did you ever consider the deeper meaning behind the bowl of fish soup that Queequeg eats at the beginning of Moby Dick? Did you ever wonder if there's some, sort of symbolic foreshadowing of the fish soup that Queequeg eats at the beginning of Moby Dick? Could you ever consider that? And I'm not even kidding. That would be what I would take out into the community if I was to be an advocate and or activist from my literature analysis class in college. I'd be asking them for the deeper symbolic meaning of a bowl of soup.
When people of unique backgrounds work together in the classroom, a richness unfolds.
Okay.
That is reflective of and responsive to our global society.
Okay.
And what I'm talking about is a society that includes various perspectives, ideologies, and attitudes.
Really? Well, would you accept, I don't know, attitudes or ideologies that have some serious questions about social justice philosophy? I really have to wonder, would you entertain, would you humor any perspectives that had some questions about your own?
Ultimately, education must motivate students to be their best selves.
No, 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 no. Education offers students the opportunity to expand their knowledge and their understanding of the world around them. Ultimately, it is up to the student. It is up to the individual as to how they will either use that knowledge, dismiss that knowledge, or whatever, and become the person that they choose to be. Education is not a definition. It is an opportunity. I mean, I'm sure there's a more articulate way I could put it if I thought more about it, but that is my immediate reaction to that nonsense statement. It provides you the possibility, the tools to become a more knowledgeable person. Does that inherently make you a good person, a best person? No, it does not. The best person you can be is based on the totality of your actions and your decisions, how you treat other people, how you treat yourself, how you move through the world. You can have the greatest education on the planet. What did I just hit? Okay, I just muted something there. Can you guys still hear me? I hit a button on my keyboard accidentally, and I don't know if I just muted myself. Let me know if I cut off there, because that's going to be very awkward if I did. And I interrupted myself. Guys, you know, it happens on Lords of the Night. It doesn't happen very often. I interrupted myself. Yes, we can hear you. Okay, I think I might have just muted the video. Maybe that was the problem. Anyway, I lost my train of thought. You can rewind and get the gist. I think I made myself relatively clear.
To develop their independence.
Develop their independence. Well, so far you've told us that they are completely at the mercy of the teacher at the front of the classroom for everything. They can't make their own decisions about their own education, their own curriculum, their own pathway of education. Independence, they don't have any. They're completely dependent upon the teacher, I guess. You know, the straight, white, heterosexual, Eurocentric teacher in the grid form classroom, right?
To think outside of the box.
Oh, yeah.
And to develop their capacity for critical thinking.
Critical thinking? Through an activist social justice perspective, you promote critical thinking. You're on a quest to change the classrooms to something that you approve of through a social justice perspective. Do you really want to risk giving your students the opportunity to be critical thinkers? I don't know.
This way, we can have a society that is based on a complex understanding of a social justice practice at its core.
So you want to guide education through a very specific ideology. And what if somebody comes to the table who has a different perspective, a different background on the subject? What if their perspective, their diverse perspective, runs headlong into your social justice ideology for education? What do you do with such a student? Do you accept the possibility that someone else has a different opinion on things? Or are you going to reject this person as a non-conformer? I don't know, but I'd be very curious to find out. The long pauses for effect. I mean, we already circled it, but I'd do it again.
This is where, remember when I asked you, I said, what you were wondering how this has to do with you. This is your part.
Oh, I'm dying to know. Well, what does this have to do with me again? 12 minutes ago when you asked that question, and I'm still perplexed. Do tell. What does this have to do with me?
Call to action.
A call to action. Oh boy. Oh boy. What action are you calling me to undertake?
You can help with this kind of transformation.
Transformation, not change, everyone. Remember, she's being intentional.
By unequivocally demanding this type of education for yourself and for others that you know.
What type of education? Where the teacher wanders around the classroom and talks to the students? I've never seen that before. Oh, I've never experienced that before. Oh, golly gee. I thought the problem was desk arrangement and teacher skin color and or sexual orientation and or a quote-unquote Eurocentric perspective. I thought those were the problems. I thought those were the definitions or what helped to define a colonialist classroom. You haven't offered any answers to any of that except for teachers sitting with the students and I don't know, rapping with them or something. And I don't mean rap inherently as the musical form, the other form of the word rap, just kind of chat, BS, hang out, that kind of thing. God forbid I try to be more specific with my terminology than the very speaker/expert that I'm listening to.
And if you or anyone you know is ever privileged to be in one of these spaces, know that it can seem a little messy.
Messy? Tell me more about messy.
Because it's different from the norm. This is not what you're used to.
Well, what isn't what I'm used to? You have not described a single attribute of this quote-unquote transformed classroom that I have not experienced in one way, shape, or form at some point in the course of my entire education. Nothing. The teacher engaging in the students directly had that happen plenty of times. The teacher walking around the classroom had that happen plenty of times. Had the teacher sit with the students on their level, not at a podium, but in the same desk, had that happen plenty of times. Maybe it's different in Canada. I mean, it is an alternate dimension from what I live here. But nothing you have said means anything.
But it is well worth the ride to experience the rainbow at the end of this journey.
What?
And in this space.
What? I'm being talked down to at this point. I mean, throughout this entire thing, I feel like I've been talked down to. But at this particular point in the conversation, the presentation, I'm having my intelligence directly insulted now.
Students can expand on their rock star qualities because, after all, every student is a rock star.
No, they're not. They really, really are not. And is it bewildering more so to me than you that, given the title of the presentation, if I'm not mistaken, that is the first time she used the word rock star when her presentation is called Decolonizing Post-Secondary Classrooms for Rock Star Learners? I'm not even sure I know what I just watched. Okay. All right. Well, I've had more than my piece to say, so I'm going to go over the bingo card one more time. You guys have any suggestions, observations elsewise? Plays victim. She never came across to me as playing a victim. I never got that sense. Feminism, she brought up gender equality. As we know, gender equality and feminism are synonymous, so I'm going to put that up there. White supremacy. In education, that was the implication. Eurocentric, white, etc. I'm going to circle white supremacy. Childhood or family anecdote. She never really did. Microaggressions, no. Systemic, no. I mean, you could infer that, but she never said it or anything. Takes credit for something done by others, no. Attempt to coin a new buzzword. I'm going to say colonial classroom because that is still bewildering to me. And I have no idea what that means. And her definition of it is just bizarre. Rape culture, no. Toxic, no. Anecdote that probably never happened. She never gave an anecdote at all. I was amazed. There was never a family anecdote or just like an example. She just said things. Speaker should not be in current occupation or position. I don't know what she does. She never said what her position was, unless I missed it at the very beginning. She talked about interacting with school administrators and such, but she might have been talking on the level of a student. So I don't know what she does. If anybody happens to want to look up what she currently works in and tell me, I'll consider that one. Marginalize, marginalization, never use the phrases. Make something about race, sex, etc. for no reason. The teachers were white, and she never explained why that was a problem. I'm circling that one. Wage gap, no. Patriarchy, no. Cultural appropriation, no. All right. This is Kyle. Thank you so much. Thankfully, I'm streaming Dark Souls after this because figuratively, trying to bash a wall down with my head would be easier than listening to this TEDx talk. All right. We have a bingo, guys. We have a bingo. It is column N on the bingo or D in the TEDx. White supremacy, attempt to coin a new buzz phrase, free space, make something about race for no reason, and a list. We have a bingo. This talk is officially our second full bingo. Holy cats. I'm willing to take further suggestions and etc., but I'm going to put up my my bingo card right now. Let's see. Oh, holy cow. I have to back up a second here. Yeah, what I did was I saved over my blank bingo card with the same name, which obviously would delete the completed bingo card and not have me with a blank one for the next time. So I'm going to fix that real quick, and I'll let you guys put your comments, suggestions, etc. into the chat while I fix this up and work to display my bingo card for your edification. But as far as I'm concerned, we reached a bingo. Second time only in the series so far since I started employing bingo cards. Also, have to again thank Frosted Glass for making the original bingo card, of which everything is based off of. I really do appreciate that. Wow, guys. I mean, you could hear it in my voice over the course of the presentation. That was something else. That was really something else. I think she might have been, and I know this is saying something, she might have been one of the least making sense TEDx speakers I've listened to this point. Because she said nothing. She articulated nothing of either the problem involved or what the solution would be. I really don't understand what it was I was supposed to be listening to there. There's my completed bingo card. And now I'll go to the chat, guys. Thank you for your patience on that. technical problems, live TV, all that fun stuff. That one sort of Satania, Scribelight, she wanted to make class like a baseball stadium, cultural appropriation for double bingo. No. You have to have a stronger argument than that. I mean, I'll accept it if you got something else. That wasn't quite it, though. Thank you, Chicago Mike. I watched this TEDx sober. Next time, Scribe, warn me if I need a Cuba Libre. Hey, I start each one of these with a pepper jack. I go in prepared. I was a Boy Scout. You take responsibility, Mike. Assassin of the Gray, Scribelight, you just watched NPC Makes More Useful Idiots.exe. Something like that. Graph Spree, Scribelight, I think my faith in humanity dropped to 1%. No, because you listen to it and presumably it as well infuriated your critical thinking skills, which means that humanity's not lost. Dark Alile, from what I have heard about Evergreen, she's advocating for Evergreen to be the norm. What do you think, Scribelight? I guess you could say there are some elements there, deferring to the students, sort of giving up your power as a teacher, just sort of rejecting the whole idea that you're there to educate people and that you're there to also be the student. That kind of thing. I guess you could draw a line 2 or 3 from there. But I mean, it sounds like something that an Evergreen State College professor would be saying in the midst of all that. But as Pincalo said, this is Canada apparently. So let's see. Kiever Dam Scribelight. She's a professor in the social work department at Memorial University of Newfoundland. Social work department. I mean, social work is such a broad and generalized subject matter. Should she not be in her position? I don't know. That's a tough one, honestly, because social work could be a whole bunch of different things. I'm sitting right on the line of that one. X4390247, Scribelight, you're not supposed to listen. You're supposed to bow your head and believe. I guess, but I just can't bring myself to do it, unfortunately, for her, I guess. Assassin of the Gray, Scribelight, lead from behind did not work very well when applied to the real world. Yeah, the real world. Did she ever give us any notion of what her model of education was going to do to improve your experience with the real world? I mean, that was the thesis of her whole presentation, is that educational arrangements and desks, grids, and teacher color is detrimental to your ability to focus in the real world. So what, if anything, did she say? I mean, I suppose the part where she said, go out into the community and be an evangelist. Was I going for Evangelion or is I going for evangelist? Be an evangelist for whatever subject matter you're learning in the classroom. Was that supposed to be the operate in the real world component of this talk? I don't know. Let's see. Aloysius Fudpucker. She is one of those people that goes around and says, I have no idea how to do your job, but my little red book says you're doing it wrong. Yeah, I mean, it was all complaints without offers of alternative. I mean, I was really hopeful, and you heard me. I was really hopeful when she said, what is a colonized classroom, or what is a colonized education? I was like, okay, great. I need something to operate off of. And her definition was the spatial orientation of a classroom as classically defined, and the color, sexual orientation, and I don't even know, ethnic-centered perspective of the education, Eurocentric. And aside from the teacher should move around the classroom more, or sit with the students, or engage them individually, which totally aren't things that teachers already do in a lot of places, I guess. She didn't offer any solutions to these quote-unquote problems. But anyway, guys, I've gone over time than I planned, so I'm going to wrap things up here. You see my completed bingo card on there. We had reached a bingo for this TEDx, a rare event. significant event. There you go. Thank you guys so much for coming out and joining me for this. I don't know if I could have gotten through it. That was the Pepper Jack talking. Through it without your support and companionship in this journey. Thank you so much for your participation as well throughout the chat, throughout the stream, and elsewise. Thank you so much for your generosity. I really, really do appreciate it. It will all go towards more Dr. Pepper and more Jack Daniels to try to help me get through these things. Yeah. Another educational experience, guys. I have another video that is in the realm of education. I might do that one next just to sort of compare and contrast with this one. We'll see. That might be tomorrow, might be Monday. We'll see. Everyone, again, thank you for joining me. Hope you are all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon. If you'd like to hear more from me or Satsu 2 Cents or the Ranting Monkey, you can find us live tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern on Ranting Monkey's channel for Lords of the Night, where we'll talk about the news of the day, various things that we're up to on the intertubes, and stories that you suggest, and your questions and comments. Everyone, have a good rest of your Saturday, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.